In this episode, Romin decides to cook for Luke, and it goes about as well as you might expect. Hey there, my name is Rex, and let's go ahead and discuss episode 14 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Now this one, of course, as we knew from the preview, coming off of last episode, this one was going to be a little more chill as compared to, the previous four episodes, which that was a really good few episodes there, good arc, and a good conclusion technically to the first 13 episodes as a whole. Things are going to be, again, different going forward, or at least changing going forward potentially, but this episode is a nice chill one to cool off from last week's episode, and but it does pick up from last week's episode as well, as things still aren't exactly right between Romin and Luke, mostly on Luke's side because he's a little more hard-headed and doesn't really want to forgive Romin. So we start off in Yuga's garage while he's working on something, which is kind of interesting too. You see that he's working on something pretty large, and at one point there's like a robotic hand there, but what's great is that we end up seeing all of this come into play. And again, it's something just really good about Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. I've been watching a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and in his recent live stream, talking about the last episode, of course, they were going on about a lot of the continuity between Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, and even within one episode, it's really great. But regardless, Yuga suggests that, hey, why not cook for him? And it's interesting because they kind of have a flashback to just how much Luke eats, and I guess like, hey, you know what, that kind of does make sense. He really has been eating quite a bit, at least at different points in the episode. And again, like I said, just some great continuity. So that kind of sparks off the whole episode, and I believe the episode title is something along the lines of like Roman's Kitchen or something like that. So they ask Kaizo what Luke's favorite food is. For whatever reason, Kaizo knows, and Kaizo is actually strapped to Yuga's bike, and which is kind of funny. It looks like he's like welded in, basically. Yuga is basically constantly modifying Kaizo, which is funny and great. So Kaizo lets him know it is curry and rice, and after Roman's like, oh, thank you, Kaizo gets excited, runs off. And so this, I think, is kind of something great also, rather than just having everybody focusing on, oh yeah, let's all help Romin cook. This is where the paths diverge for the episode, so it splits up Yuga from everybody else. Yuga and Kaizo, technically, because Yuga is chasing down Kaizo after he's run off. And so that leaves Gakuto and Romin to cook as well, and Ranze and Renosuke also are there. Those are their names, and I need to learn their names, which is also great because they're really, some, not necessarily main characters. The main characters, of course, are our main four, but they're kind of on the outside of that, but they join in quite a bit. Again, just being very loyal to Gakuto, and again, going to their same school, so they're not going to tag along on like every big thing, but it is great to see them in an episode like this because they are just extremely helpful. Again, grabbing all the ingredients that Romin needs to cook, and things start off from there. There is some really funny things that happen, lots of shenanigans, because Romin is just really incompetent at cooking, to the point where she's like, all right, cool, great, we got all these ingredients. So where's the instant curry? As if they weren't gonna make the whole thing, which is what all the ingredients are for. So there is just a lot of good comedy there, and like I said, I think they all work out. Gakuto being very inspirational, I guess, and it kind of works out too because Romin is kind of doubtful of herself in this specific scenario, because she keeps bringing up the. Oh, but it's my first time cooking. Oh, I've never cooked before. And she keeps playing that card to, I guess, try to get everybody else to help her out more so, trying to get them to do a little more. But they kind of reach a good balance throughout this episode in terms of like, helping her, but she does some things on her own. Again, she just messes up a whole lot. And it is also good to see Gakuto and Romin together because I think they work really well off of each other. Again, in a scenario like this where specifically Romin isn't very confident with her cooking abilities, and Gakuto is, again, just very inspirational. He's the loudmouth of everybody, but he's an integral part to the team, kind of continuing to push everybody forward in his own way. And of course, Ranze and Renosuke are just great, being very supportive. Again, there are just so many good jokes with the cooking segment. But Yuga, or at least Kaizo, Yuga and Kaizo's story has some interesting bits as well, because Kaizo, while he's speeding off, he gets stopped by some of the other drones, or the drones that are actually doing their job that they're supposed to be doing, and Kaizo just transforms into a robot form because he has the bike. So the bike basically transforms into the robot, and then Kaizo, I guess, is piloting a robot. So it's basically kind of a mecha. Which is funny too. He's got his own dumb song that he sings while he's transforming. It's great. But interesting, this is kind of a, you realize this is also maybe kind of, say, like a prototype to Yuga's dual mecha that he's dreamed about and that we see in the intro as well. So that'll probably be something that comes along later. What was it? He was like dreaming about it in the first episode, and then we see, like, he draws up plans for it. So interesting that now he's this is something that he's working toward, or at least Kaizo transforming into a robot. So again, it seems like this is probably a prototype for what will come later. And what's great is the drones combine as well, but they just make a longer roadblock. They're just like, yeah, you're not allowed to pass. So the interesting thing though, there probably wasn't going to be a duel for this episode. We had, a lot of us had not thought there was going to be a duel, but technically there is, because Kaizo challenges the drones to a duel. Now we don't see an actual real duel, because we see Yuga later catches up with them and he overhears them dueling, and it seems like they're having sort of a simulated duel, because they do enter a duel, the two drones, or two robots, or sorry, two sides of the robots. And they don't have dual discs, they don't have physical cards, but there are kind of holograms there. And Yuga kind of points out that their turns are going by really quickly. Each of them are just saying, all right, my turn, I end turn, my turn, I end turn. So they're probably going through like some sort of dual simulation very quickly, which is kind of interesting to see for the robots as well. I think we only see about 3 cards each on their side at a time, so they're probably doing a rush duel. Otherwise, maybe they were just doing a full-on regular traditional duel. But still, pretty interesting to see that the robots and Kaizo can all can do something like that, like a dual simulation. So I wonder if we'll see that come into play later. Again, Kaizo, especially having this new form that he can transform into. But Yuga catches up with him after Kaizo wins, by the way, and the other drones just disband, just get out of here. And so he lets him know, hey, we gotta get to Romin's place, and so he runs off. Although the battery is basically drained on his bike, so he's just gotta ride it regularly. And on the way back, they catch up with Luke. I almost said there's a bunch of people with R names, but Rook/Luke. A lot of the translations now are calling him Luke, even though it was Rook at the beginning. But I get, either one makes sense realistically. But I guess PSA. I'm just gonna be calling him Luke throughout the next episodes, because again, that's what the subtitles are saying, and it's a little easier with everybody else having names that start with R. But regardless, back in the kitchen, which, by the way, I didn't even mention though, this whole place is Roa's house, which Romin said something along the lines of, oh, I'm house sitting, and we're cousins, so it's okay. So it's kind of interesting. They're in his house, which is a very nice place. And so while they're cooking, everyone else is kind of leaving Romin to do as much as she can by herself. And the curry looks fine until it doesn't. Suddenly it's blue for some reason, which I don't even know how you get to that point. How do you get blue? Especially with all the ingredients had, unless you had maybe food dye or something. But there's some great tools, but there's some great jokes too. And it's a little predictable too at this point. It's a little predictable along the lines of like, oh, it looks terrible and everybody's scared of it. Oh, but it's actually good. And that turns out to be the case, especially when Luke shows up. And he's still a little apprehensive, but he smells the curry and he tries it for himself. And he loves it. So, it's a nice, just fun episode, especially with how it wraps up like that. And I think the blue thing too is really important also, because that kind of makes Luke like it even more, because again, that's his color scheme. He's got blue hair, and again, it looks like his ace monster drag ears, which he points out, which I didn't even think of that portion too. I just thought, oh, maybe just blue's his favorite color, oh, he's got blue hair or something like that. But the connection is drag ears itself, which again makes sense, being his ace monster, and again, probably his favorite color, who knows. So it's a nice fun episode, and unfortunately you can't have a perfect end, because you got one more mistake that Romin makes while she's trying to add in some more for everybody, or trying to get some more for everybody, and just how all of these explosions throughout the whole episode have been happening. She's just very accident prone apparently when it comes to cooking, and just the whole thing floods with curry. And thankfully Roa shows up at the very end just in time to see the mess. So it was interesting Roa wasn't there for most of the episode. Again, he was out because Romin was house sitting. So interesting seeing he's still around. He's also, in his dialogue, he says something along the lines of, hey, yeah, I got some new cards. So it is also kind of neat to see Roa still there. Again, not necessarily a villain, but he's going to be a rival now. Again, someone who's going to be challenging Yuga for the whole Duel King thing. But regardless, it was a fun, chill episode. I enjoyed it. Like, again, If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil any jokes, and if you've already seen it, you know how good these jokes are. But this was a very jokey episode. As I've mentioned in previous episodes before, you know, the jokes actually get me to laugh out loud for this show, say, as opposed to some other anime. So this was quite the funny episode. But next episode from the preview, things are going to be ramping up again, and there's going to be like some actual duels. But like I said, I think, you know, maybe we need just a nice chill episode like this. You know, it's kind of similar, say, in Pokemon Journeys. Some people aren't always super thrilled about some of the slower, or not necessarily slower episodes, but some of the quote unquote filler episodes, even though they're not technically filler, I guess. But, you know, some of the episodes that are a little, like I said, not as hyped as, say, the previous ones, but because sometimes you need that, especially when, you know, you get to like a high point in anime, you know, and sometimes you need some time to chill out before getting to the next big thing. And so the next big thing is next week. But let me know what you thought about this episode down in the comments below. Did you enjoy it? Was it fun? Was it funny? How are you liking the series as it's going? Like I said, I'm just really enjoying it. Again, if you're a Romin fan, you're getting a lot of mileage out of the show, say with 3 episodes ago, and then this episode now, which again, I guess a comparison to Pokemon Journeys, it's much more than Chloe fans are getting right now, unfortunately for them. But I mean, hey, I love all the characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7. They're all fun to watch. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the content, remember to leave a like and subscribe to show your support. If you'd like to drop an applause, you can do that as well. You can click that bell icon next to the subscribe button to make sure you see each new video as it comes out. Anyway, this has been Rex. Have a nice day.